Okay, so we now have the application working. We're using a timer counter overflow interrupt to start our ADC conversion, and then ADC itself is working on interrupts, and so we have a conversion complete interrupt as well. So we can see that this is being graphed fairly responsibly because we're measuring every 100 milliseconds. But what we'd like to do now is actually visualize that application flow. So we would like to set a GPIO when the timer overflows to start the ADC conversion, and then in that conversion complete interrupt we'd like to clear the GPIO so we can visualize what we're actually doing. If I look at the user guide of the D21 Explain Pro, that there are some GPIO functions in the embedded debugger, and I'm going to try and use GPIO 2 PA20. So I'm going to go to the PinMux, look for PA20, and you can see that this is part of the DJI GPIO. So actually I could choose any of these GPIO from the embedded debugger. I'm going to use this as a digital output, and I'm going to have initially low, and DJI GPIO 2 is going to be my label, and let's export the project. Timer, and I'm going to say GPIO as well, download the pack, and as before reconfigure my start project. Okay, so first thing I want to point you towards is that in main we always get a system init, and that's basically all we have when we have a really empty start project. Alt-G, this is just in the bottom of atmel start.c, so you can see we have a system init, initializes the MCU, and here you can see all the different drivers that we've initialized. UART, timer, ADC, delay, which I suppose we could remove since we're not using it anymore. And then there's a set pin direction and pin level. Now, I could just copy this function here, but I want to show you a little bit more about the GPIO pins. So here I am in the include of the HEL, and I can see the H files. And because most of the GPIO functions are pretty simple, they are inlined. And so if I'm looking for different GPIO functions to use, I'm going to look here in the H file. And in fact, it's a good practice to look in the H files to find functions to use, because here you can see the descriptors and all the different functions available. So in general, look in the H files for functions to use. So going back to the GPIO.h, I'm going to take this function here, and what I wanted to do was set the pin in the timer counter overflow. So here, DGIO GPIO2, and it's going to be true, and yeah, and then in the ADC conversion complete interrupt, I'm going to clear this and make it false. Okay, you see true is high and so false is low. So this then should set and clear GPIO. So let's compile and see what this looks like. Okay, that seems to work. Going back to the data visualizer. Now what we'd like to use is the GPIO on the DJI. We're going to take the GPIO, create a new plot, and now we should just start this running. And you can see that we are getting some plots, and if we want to now uncheck auto scroll, and we can zoom in with a shift and this mouse scroll button, and from here we can just show cursors, and now we'll have cursors to measure and you can see that we are at 10 Hertz, which is the 100 milliseconds that we expect. And if we zoom in further, we can see that each ADC conversion is taking approximately, well, it's not taking very long. Thanks.